I forgot about this show. We apparently have a third Apple TV Peanuts-related cartoon. We've had two so far, both named after Snoopy. This one's named after Charlie Brown, so I guess fair balance is, in part, that's what his comic strips are known for, the Charlie Brown comics, right? And Snoopy. But this sounds very interesting. Like I've said, I grew up watching Peanuts cartoons. So this is, as much as cool as it is to watch like new animated, cartoons that still have, high qualities that as Apple TV would be known for, it's nostalgic for me. I love that type of journey. So let's take a look at Who Are You, Charlie Brown? This is what it says according to IMDb. Follows interviews with friends, family, and more of the iconic comic strip to create a portrait of the late Peanuts creator. Okay, this is more of a documentary. Okay, I misunderstood that. That's interesting. Even with me growing up as a kid and the stuff I was exposed to, for me, like I said, I didn't grow up watching a lot of the typical cartoons my peers did. And I watched, aside from some other things, including Food Network and HGTV all the time, I found that entertaining as a kid. I know weird upbringing. Anyway, different. Maybe some can relate. I have no idea. But, I grew up on very innocent television. And for me, Charlie Brown was one of the things I used to watch. Because, my parents deemed that acceptable and appropriate. Not, crude or vulgar or anything. It's cool to see, by the way, that even with Apple TV's acquisition, I guess, and distribution of Peanuts-related content, and even with that movie that came out years ago, which was so much fun to watch in theaters. It was very moving. It was like, oh, this is Charlie Brown. Just a new type of style. But whereas, kids shows, cartoons always been like this. You have the cartoons that tried to push the boundaries, and they've had adult type subject materials that a lot of parents probably looked at and were like, well, that's not appropriate for my kid. And there's been many cartoons that I grew up with as a kid that have decided to change things according to, where the world goes and where the culture goes and where modernity, might take them, which, again, modernity is so, it's not as good as it's made out to be. Like, oh, we're trying things new. It's like, is it really a good thing? No, probably not. As kids shows have become, I would say, tainted over the years, it's cool to see a show still be preserved to its original foundation and not taken in new directions, where, the late Charles M. Schulz, right, wouldn't have gone if his comics. What I saw on Apple TV is still a very faithful adaptation to the comic strips, and the old cartoons I used to watch. Classic cartoons. Who doesn't love Peanuts, right? You can enjoy these as an adult. Let's go ahead and take a look at this documentary, though, and learn a bit more, I guess, about the people surrounding the comic development, and Charles M. Schulz's life. We're going to go ahead and watch this first. We'll talk about it more in my condensed views. I'll watch the video together. I love documentaries, so that has an aspect of appeal, but knowing it's surrounded on the topic of the Charlie Brown creator. This sounds good. Without further ado, let's take a look. Here we go. Let's watch.
We have to write an essay? 500 words about who we are? I have no idea who I am. Good grief.
You worry too much, Charlie Brown.
Long before there was a boy named Charlie Brown, there was a man named Charles Schulz.
Even as a kid, I was cognizant of the fact that there is a man somewhere in America who sits at a large slanted desk and he draws peanuts.
I hope this project maybe brings him some
Peanuts is just its own
better recognition.
I related to Charlie Brown so much.
I think Charlie Brown is just a little bit of what
much of his own making, to be admitted.
inside of us.
My favorite character is Linus. I used to carry around a blue blanket.
Everybody knows what Lucy with the football means.
There's a lot of classic, well-known faces.
He's so cute.
Oh, really? Ron Howard?
Since I was about 6 years old.
He was the little kid that no one really talked to.
He was one person telling this personal story every day.
Like all the best creators, there's a lot of himself in the work.
I remember I called him my sweet Babu.
As much art
Pretty soon it was
happens
in
to
the
be that
comic
way.
strip.
I didn't know his wife was there.
He was those characters.
I have to figure out the meaning of my life.
The meaning of life is to give and receive love.
I feel like he always was searching for the truth and wanted the world to be equal. You saw the girls in sports, which as a girl, I'm like, oh, that's great.
Here I am reading this comic strip, and all of a sudden there's a kid in there that looks like me.
It was 1968. Papers threatened to drop the strip, and he's like, fine, drop it.
The conversations those young children have resonate to our soul.
As successful as he was, I don't know that he got the full depth of the love and devotion people had to
Yeah,
him and
very
those
true.
characters.
Still exists to this day. Probably you're seeing Apple TV making more Peanuts
Charlie Brown never given
shows.
up, and if anybody should give up, he should.
Who are you, Charlie Brown?
It was beautiful. And they have like the old narration on there. Wow. And you notice it wasn't just like, I guess some of them are the Apple TV versions. I haven't watched the shows yet. I'm going to. But, because I'm pretty sure the one they opened up is one of the new takes from Apple TV specifically. But they've got some of the older ones. So you got the Hard on the Nose. You know how classic that one is? I remember growing up that one as a kid. I forget, like Be My Valentine, I think? Again, specific one wrong. I watched all of the Peanuts stuff as a kid. But yeah, I mean, that's very true, with Charles M. Schultz. I was going to say Kevin Smith, because that's just the one that popped up. Oh, I hope, again, like the whole He-Man fallout. I've never been a big He-Man fan, but it was kind of funny to watch that whole thing happening. Major episode. Yeah, well, I hope maybe this puts you in a better light. Oh, the drama. Anyway, moving on. Charles M. Schultz. This is very true for really writing across the board, not just in comic strips. That so much of it is fueled by personal experience. And I know that personally. I'm a big poetry writer myself. So for me, that's something that I've really dug into. It's just my own, not just my internal psychology, so to speak, but just my experiences in the past. It's sort of the illustrations that I try to manifest and create are based on real life experiences. And poetry, you can be very, obscure in that regard and create illustrations that are, they're more mysterious in nature, but they do speak if you really dig down into the depths of the words and the understanding of the material. You get a sense of the individual on a much deeper level. And you look at pretty much any type of writing is like that. You just look at the writer and you look at the characters and the stories that they manifest, and you can learn things about maybe their personal experiences. Charlie Brown, I mean, just a very relatable character, I'm sure, for a lot of children, not just myself in many ways, but I don't know. It's such a legacy. It's incredible. And to see so many cool faces here, like Drew Barrymore's here. Lupita Nyong'o is narrating. Love her. And Gene Schultz, his widow. Wow, that's quite the account to have. But I don't know much of a story in terms of like the behind the scenes stuff with the comic book or the comic versions of Peanuts. I didn't know that apparently someone tried to take it. Why would anyone try to take it off the newspaper? What was the threat there? I don't know. I mean, this did speak to many kids. I mean, I know people personally that were moved by people in my own family that were moved, earlier than maybe even when I was alive from the comic book productions, or not comic book. I keep saying comic books. Well, comic books, those are big nowadays, but comic strips. I knew people whose lives were transformed by them too. And for many kids and for any adults, I'm sure they can relate. I definitely want to watch this. It'll be interesting again. Like I was thinking it was going to be a Peanuts or a Peanuts show, because that's what Apple TV's had so far. No, it's not. It's a documentary. I love documentaries, and to learn about the Peanuts in terms of early formation, that'll be interesting. What are your guys' thoughts with Who Are You, Charlie Brown? Let me know down below. Don't forget all this stuff. I'd like you to subscribe, the sharing, that bell until we get to watch more from Apple TV in the future. I'll see you guys then. But until that point, thanks for watching this video. I love you guys. Don't forget to love your fellow man. God bless and peace.